The story I'm about to tell is one of the most tragic, and it seemed too simple at first, but it turned out to be anything but. Even in solid partnerships, there come moments when a third person enters the relationship, altering it completely and fundamentally. While one partner experiences a brand new relationship, the other is sidelined, suffering in solitude. In such instances of emerging marital triangles, it's imperative to address the situation. The resolutions vary, from the less painful to the tragic. The following event describes a real crime that took place in 1995. However, the names of the characters and the location of the event have been changed to preserve the anonymity of individuals who still live in that area. In early 1995, a small village in Wisconsin witnessed a family tragedy that led to the needless loss of several lives. This incident, as often happens, profoundly affected the lives of many. The investigation file, over 500 pages long, starts with a murder charge and has lots of crime scene photos. Some photos, at first glance, seem out of place, depicting snowy landscapes under a distant winter sun. With no tracks in the snow, nature appeared to be in deep hibernation. Other images show a mountain stream flowing past icebound stones, surrounded by towering trees with branches bowing under the snow's weight, touching the water. On the steep banks, red stains in the snow. The following shots snap us back to a horrifying reality. The house where the tragedy unfolded stands by a road, its stone ground floor complemented by a timber-framed upper. The front door, leading to a porch doubling as a hallway, greeted the arriving police with a crowd already gathered. The stone steps, coated in icy snow, were soaked in blood. But the house's door was locked. The officers quickly forced entry. Inside, bloodstains trailed across partially tiled floors. Under a blanket lay a motionless body. The blood on the floor and walls spoke of a brutal crime. The 40-year-old man, clad in winter attire, lay on his back, his face covered in dried blood, eyes wide open. Blood also stained his hands and clothing. The autopsy revealed numerous stab and slash wounds. Numerous clues were gathered from the scene. A crucial step was deploying a police dog, which traced a scent leading to additional blood droplets from the crime scene. The investigators immediately focused on close acquaintances of the victim. Someone had keys to the house. Besides the door, the windows were locked from the inside. The perpetrator must have been someone who could lock up behind them. The police turned their attention to Rose, the murdered John's wife. Questioning Rose and her acquaintances started to paint a picture of the murder's motive and who might have done it. Rose, who married young, had 2 children with John, who eventually left home. Over time, the relationship between Rose and John became less ideal. While John spent time with friends over beer, Rose found solace in other acquaintances. Rumors spread in the village that she had found a girlfriend. Rose began spending more time at her house but returned home several times a week. Neighbors believed she struggled to adapt to living in another household, occasionally relishing the chance to sleep in her old home, reminiscing about happier times. Eventually, Rose and her husband agreed to avoid each other's presence in the house. This arrangement worked for a while, but John's jealousy towards his wife persisted. He still deeply loved her. To see her more often at home, he built a workspace for her business in their house's upper floor. However, their disagreements escalated over time, sometimes leading to physical confrontations by John. The word divorce became an almost daily topic. By then, Rose had established a solid relationship with her girlfriend, a former soldier who had returned from an unperformed mission in former Yugoslavia. Now living off her military pension, she, according to neighbors, was very fond of Rose. When John was away on business trips, Rose brought Mary, her acquaintance, to the home she still shared with John. After interrogating those close to the family, investigators thought they had a clear case. It seemed Rose had murdered her husband. All clues pointed directly to her. A knife with her fingerprints was found at the scene, and recordings of telephone conversations captured Rose threatening to kill John if he laid hands on her again. Did a heated argument between John and Rose lead to the murder? We bring you an exclusive statement from police investigator Patrick Raven.
A week after the incident, on January 10th, we went to arrest Rose Black. We thought we had the perpetrator and that Rose would confess during further interrogations. We rang her outside gate, but no response. We jumped the fence and approached the front door. Again, no response. We broke in, only to be shocked by the scene inside. Lying in a pool of blood by the door was a woman's body. As if one body wasn't enough. We instantly knew it was Rose. A double murderer was at large, having first killed John and now his wife Rose.
Further interrogations of Rose's circle revealed more about her life. It turned out Rose had financial troubles in her business, owing a significant sum to a former business partner. Could he have killed John and Rose? And what would be his motive? Perhaps to inherit the entire company after their deaths. However, it soon became clear that the business associate had no involvement in the deaths of Rose and her husband. The investigation took an entirely different direction following a seemingly routine phone report about an abandoned vehicle after an accident. The owner had left it shortly after the crash. When the police arrived at the scene, they found personal documents belonging to Mary Woodcraft in the car. Among the items found were a blood-stained pink sweatshirt and a military knife. Back at the station, an officer noted the knife's length and design seemed to fit the recent murder of Rose. Could the police have their perpetrator? While no one believed in such a lucky coincidence, the blood-stained sweatshirt was sent to the forensic department to determine if the blood type, or even DNA, matched Rose's medical records. 3 days later, a surprising report arrived. The blood type and DNA found on the sweatshirt matched the traces secured at the crime scene. The police had their murderer. It appeared to be Mary. A nationwide search for Mary was immediately launched. She was captured trying to cross the border into Mexico.
In December 1995, I went to Rose's house. I couldn't stand to see her suffering, arguing with John. I told her I would kill her husband. But Rose refused even to discuss this plan. The idea of me killing John horrified her. The night before the murder, another fierce argument erupted between John and Rose. She returned to me with a black eye and bruises on her arms. I was enraged. I snatched the keys from her and stormed out. Rose didn't try to stop me. I went to her house, planning to punch John a few times. He wasn't home, so I let myself in and sat in the living room with a glass of whiskey. Soon, John arrived. He started yelling at me, asking what I was doing in his house. We argued, and I don't know how it happened. Suddenly, we were in the kitchen, and I was holding a knife. Then I remember stabbing him the first time. What followed is a blur. John tried to defend himself, then seemed to give up. He lay motionless on the floor, blood pouring out. I tried to stop the bleeding with a couch blanket to prevent the blood from reaching the hallway. But I eventually left it. I left the house and locked it behind me. I headed to the river to wash off the blood, but tumbled down the steep slope into the water. When I got back to our home, Rose was waiting for me. Seeing me in that state, she just turned away and then fainted. When she came to, she asked if John was alive. I shook my head. Rose then silently packed her things and left me. A few days later, she called, saying she would report everything to the police and never return to me. I immediately drove to her house. We had a terrible argument there. Didn't she realize I did everything for both of us? I felt terrible remorse, betrayal, then anger. I hit her. She hit back. I had a knife in my belt. I pulled it out and stabbed her. And then several more times. When I felt relieved, she lay motionless on the floor. I ran out of the house, jumped into the car, and drove off. Anywhere. It didn't matter. On the road, some idiot got in my way and we collided. It wasn't my fault. I fled the car, then hitched a taxi, trying to leave the country.
Mary expressed regret for her actions during the interrogation. The key to assessing the whole case was a medical expert report. This report and the autopsy revealed that the first victim suffered a total of 27 stab and slash wounds, with combined external and internal bleeding causing death. The second victim received 3 stab and slash wounds, executed with such brutality to the neck and head that survival was impossible. During the criminal proceedings, the accused's mental state was thoroughly examined, including a comprehensive psychological evaluation. Experts did not confirm any mental illness in Mary, only a certain deviation in her personality structure. At the time of the crime, she was fully capable of understanding the social danger of her actions. After carefully considering all the crucial facts, the jury sentenced Mary to 11 years in prison. Mary was released from prison early, in 2002, for good behavior.